Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season premiere of Riverdale. A great season premiere. A lot of stuff to break down about this episode. So obviously, quite a bit of time has passed since the season 2 finale. The summer's almost over. The fact of the matter is Archie's in court. Betty's working with, former Mayor McCoy, as well as Mary, Archie's mom, trying to be his legal defense team. You have Veronica working at Pop's. I guess it's because obviously she's on the outs with her family, so she's cut off and everything, so she's got to make her own way, kind of take care of herself in that regard. Then you got Jughead dealing with the whole serpent situation, which there's a lot of cans to unpack in that situation, because for one, it's like the whole situation with Penny and the Ghoulies encroaching, they're kind of running the north, and it seems like the Southside Serpents kind of don't exist anymore, even to the point Penny was like, oh yeah, give me the jacket. It was just kind of like a last middle finger to Jughead in that regard. Plus, it's like Betty's being threatened because Betty's like, no, I'm Queen Serpent, which means I'm Warrior Serpent. So where you go, I go. We're in this together. And then also you have Cheryl being Cheryl on many different regards. Just because, for one, her coming back is like, yeah, me and Tony were back. We had our, adventures, motorcycles and stuff. It's like, so we're having a party, pool party. Yeah, and most likely this will probably be, Archie's last days and stuff like that. So it's like, if you don't come, I completely understand. It's like, come on, Cheryl just has a way of not holding her tongue. She has what some people would say, no tact at all. I would say that at the very least. So, but you do see that even though she says that callous stuff, she does still kind of go, okay. She feels bad for Archie because it's like Archie saved her life back in season 1. And it's just like she still feels indebted to him because it's like, I can't do anything for him. Literally no one can. And that's the saddest thing about the situation with Archie's thing, because it's like, oh, this weekend might be this Labor Day weekend might be his last weekend, and because everyone's on eggshells, because everyone's worried, because how could this go? Because even McCoy told Kevin bluntly, it's told Kevin and Josie, oh yeah, this could easily go 50-50, and it's like, that's not good that things weigh like that in Archie's favor. And so everyone's trying to find a way around this, but Archie's kind of giving himself over to it. And I think that's such an interesting aspect of this, because in the grand scheme of things, Archie blames himself for all of this, because because that's a big thing that came up in his court case. It's obviously the prosecutor's bringing up all the stuff that Archie got mixed up in last season when he was kind of going through his dark side, but his mom brought up all the good, compassionate, caring things that he's done. So that kind of led to things kind of being where they are. It kind of let a lot of people split. And for Archie, his guilt is over the fact is that Cassidy would be alive if I took him away from Andre, if I'd stayed there, maybe things wouldn't be different. The fact of the matter is, I kind of get the inkling Andre would have killed him in front of you. I kind of get that feeling. But also on top of that, for Archie, it's everything he's done, because he's having nightmares where it's oh, I killed Cassidy, because he feels responsible, because he didn't take the action back then, because he just simply walked away. Someone died because of him. And also because for him, it's all the stuff I did last season, I'm guilty of all that too. Plus, I let Hiram control me and manipulate me, turn against my own family, turn against my friends. I was just so lost last season. And for him, it's that guilt is eating away at him. It's a combination of his own guilt and probably having all these people say all these terrible things that he did, reminding him of what he did, and just makes him feel even more and more guilty. Because it's not this exactly, but it almost makes you feel like he's taking the guilt he already has, and he takes the guilt of killing someone, and it's almost like he's believing that he's guilty, because he's got so many people telling him he is guilty over and over again. So that's not it exactly, but it is just like I said. He feels like he has to pay. He feels like he deserves this, because he even says it to his parents, because it's y'all did nothing wrong. It was my fault. I have to be the one to take responsibility for everything that happened. You guys have been great parents. You did nothing wrong, And that's a lot for a teenager to take on himself. It's a heavy burden and weight, just because in this case, Archie's his own worst enemy. And the question I ultimately wonder in the grand scheme of things is that what Hiram was hoping for? Because when it all said and came down to it, I think he was actually shocked Archie did what he did, taking the deal at the end of the episode. Like, you almost see him going like, wait, what? I don't think he expected Archie to do that, but that's the thing. Archie is naturally a good dude, and all the terrible dark path stuff, like Hiram sent him down, like he feels so guilty, and that's like eating away at him, because even he realizes like he might not have killed Cassidy, but for him it's like, I could have been that. Like, he was positioning himself to be that for Hiram, to be a killer, to do whatever Hiram needed him to be. He was going to go down that route. And so for him, it's like, it's not just the guilt of like that. It's like the guilt of like, that's who I could have been. I was steps away from becoming that person, you know? But, cause I was thinking in the grand scheme of things, like Hiram's biggest thing was like, oh, he wants to punish Archie and stuff like that. Maybe he was kind of hoping in the long run, like obviously it's a combination of the trial and all of this would have eventually broken Archie. I think that was the kind of the main goal. Well, it turns out that's not the case. Initially, I thought that was the main goal. Turns out it's not the case. Like the real main goal was like, oh, to punish Veronica. Because for him, it isn't Archie's betrayal that counts. It's Veronica's. It's like, oh, you chose blood over your own father. So, I mean, you chose that boy over your own blood. So there's that whole situation in itself. And so that's why I feel like he always wanted Archie to go to jail, but I guess he wasn't expecting Archie to make a sacrifice like that. Because for Archie, it's like, wait, it's a deadlock, it's a mistrial, we'd have to go through all of this again. And he didn't want to put the people he loved. For one, he already feels guilty enough just in like, oh, I deserve this punishment. But he's not about to put all the people he loves. Like, so many people have put so much time and effort in this situation, and he didn't want to waste their time. Like, no, he don't, because that was a constant thing. Like, even with Veronica, it's like, I don't want you to put your life on pause because of me. Don't even come visit me, because of the fact of the matter is, I want you to enjoy the rest of your high school life. And Veronica was like, no, we're in this together, you know? And for him, it's like, because he ends up talking about like what scares him the most. It's not even being shivved or anything. It's about missing graduation with him, because that's like his greatest fear the entire episode of like, hey, like, you got like him being alone and walking away. That solitude, it's what scares him the most. And that's why he made sure to spend as much time with, you know, Veronica, Betty, and Jug, because he felt that he knew that things were going to go down this route. And because the crazy thing is, like, when it's all said and done, like, Veronica pleaded with her dad. It's like, okay, you made your point. Help him do this. If you send him there, he could literally die. But he was kind of like, it's out of my hands. Which part of me wonders, I kind of feel like it's more so like, no, he could do something. But at the same time, it's like, I mean, especially considering the fact this Hermione's mayor, you could have made some leeway. But I guess at the same time, it's like things are going too far that if he stepped in now, it would compromise a lot of him. And for him, there'd be no benefit. Because for one, Veronica needs to learn her lesson, and Archie needs to be punished too, you know? So that's why, like, even more so he wouldn't do it. Veronica tried to do her jury tampering because she couldn't be the one on the stand to say all the stuff about her dad. To be fair, I'm sure the reason why McCoy and Mary didn't put her on the stand, because it's like, you're the daughter of the person, you know, being Hiram's, you know, daughter, plus also like the whole like, oh yeah, you're Archie's girlfriend. To most people, it'd probably be a situation of it wouldn't help, because it just make people go like, oh, you're just covering for your boyfriend. That's all it is. You're like a girl. Oh, you have problems with your dad, so you're trying to blame. Like, that might have been a concern that they had. Like, the jury might look at it like that. So that's why they weren't willing to take that chance, because anything she says anyway would be kind of probably considered hearsay, because you can't prove any of that, because they've done a very good job of covering their tracks. That's why Archie was so content with accepting his fate, because it's like, there's no point in trying to look for the gun or anything. All of that's long gone. I'm not going to waste these last days of summers trying to stress about that. I just want to spend the time with you guys, you know? So he took them, you know, to Sweetwater swimming hole, driving the car him and his dad had been working on together. So some interesting things. We found out that Josie and Sweet Pea, that's interesting, because Archie had brought up like, hey, make sure that, you know, he was telling Reg, is like, when it's all said and done, like, you and the Bulldog, you work with Jughead to make sure that there's no bad blood between the Bulldogs and the Serpents, keep the peace and everything, which is interesting, because I'm curious. I mean, I think like all that's behind them now. Like, both sides have kind of come together, because it's like they have one, but technically many different common enemies because, Hiram's got his criminal circle he's working with and everything. So we'll kind of see how that all ends up ultimately playing out. So I think everything at the school is definitely going to be a lot more settled now. You have FP, Kevin's dad, former Sheriff Keller, and Fred saying that they're going to do whatever they can to help out Archie in his situation. So the fact is they said it themselves that they are willing to do whatever, means that, especially in Fred's case, it's like, this is my son. Because, like, it's something that Veronica brought up too. Like, literally everyone knows that you're behind this. Everyone knows Archie didn't do it. Everyone knows it was you. So, I'm curious to see what lines they're willing to cross, because we've seen what Fred can just do. Like, just Hiram running his mouth at the courtroom, Fred punched him. So we'll see. Especially because it's Hiram screwing over everybody. Like, he screwed over all of them. He screwed over Keller. He screwed over FP. So, like, all three of them have a reason to hate that dude. Then there's the whole Hermione situation, which her situation is very interesting because, like, I think even she kind of figures the whole Archie thing is crossing the line. Like I said, she's always seemed complacent with a lot of the stuff that he's done, but I think this was kind of the crossing the line, framing him for murder and stuff like that. Because she even says it herself, like, one of the reasons why she doesn't step to him, because it's like, you are his daughter, you're his precious everything. Like, he will never harm a head on your hair. I said that backwards. Hair on your head. Me? She's like, even as his wife, I don't think I have that same protection of luxury. So it's like, I'm his prisoner, not his puppet. So that's kind of, like I said, it just makes you go, it's so interesting because it's like season one, you're kind of like, oh, you didn't look at Hermione that way. Like, it's like, yeah, she's doing some shady stuff, but it's like, oh, it's for Hiram. And then in season two, you're like, man, she's doing all this shady stuff. She's super with Hiram. And it didn't seem like she was necessarily apologetic about it. It seems like maybe they're pulling it back a little bit. Maybe it's just, like I said, is it just specifically this Archie situation and Veronica's situation? Is it that she feels like he's getting a little out of control with what he's doing? He's kind of getting a little mad of power. I mean, I guess it's also kind of like, if he's willing to do that to Archie, trying to hurt Veronica in that sense, it kind of makes it so that no one's safe. Because even she's like, I promise you, Veronica, I won't leave you alone in the world with him. So there's that. Because even Veronica's like, I'm not your daughter anymore to Hiram. So I'm very interested to see what that means, what that's going to be like going forward, because we see what he does to people who turn their backs on him. Like, and it kind of feeds into what her mom said, is like, he didn't lay a hand on you or hurt you, but he hurt you in a different way. He broke your heart by hurting the man that you love, so he found another way to hurt you, which, Hiram's very good at that, so he could find another way. But, especially because her relationship with her dad could be, it's kind of his greatest weakness. It's kind of, I think it makes him a little blinded by rage in certain regards, or, so I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see if she can use any of that as to her advantage in the future, or whether just because where they stand right now, and her betrayal and everything, he won't look at her the same. I think she's still always going to be his princess. So I get the feeling Veronica will probably be able to use that to her advantage, but her dad kind of sees through her. So we'll see whether that kind of plays out the way they want to. Another big part of this is Betty's old situation. Then it's kind of like, oh, she's seeing a therapist. Turns out that's not the case. She's actually been self-medicating. And then, Polly kind of ratted her out. Kind of was like, oh, yeah, like, trying to, I don't know, like, because both of them in their own way, like, Alice is on some, like, new wave stuff of, like, oh, Edgar from the farm. It's Edgar this, Edgar that, blah, 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 blah. It's kind of like, oh, it's like every word that comes out of her mouth, it's quoting him, And I think that just pisses off Betty more, because it's just like everything that's going down, their whole situation with Hal and everything, and now her mom acting like all this stuff with Archie. It's just a lot. Like, she's like, Polly and my mom are right. I am avoiding things, but when this all, no matter how it turns out on Tuesday, that being the court, the jury's decision and stuff like that, it was like, I'm going to have to face everything that's happened as well as everything that's going to happen. Like, it has to, she's kind of been putting it off, and it's all going to hit her at once. And she's kind of in that state right now, because it's kind of interesting because Alice is all about putting the past behind you because she wants Betty to burn her journals and stuff like that. Because I guess that was always Alice's biggest issue, is the fact that she was kind of bound by her past. So that's what she's trying to do. And you have Polly snapping. It's like, oh, they healed me and they healed Mom. They can heal you. It's like, because even Betty was like, maybe I should actually legitimately see a therapist. It's like, yeah, your family's super messed up. Your family's been super messed up since season 1. You just didn't know how messed up it was. So there's that. We also don't know about the whole chick situation because they reference that. It's like, oh yeah, that chick person is like, oh yeah, because we never found out about that. I mean, because Hal never was like, did Hal ever confess to killing him? I think it was just kind of always like assumed he did. Right? Wasn't that the last time we saw Chick? I could be remembering that wrong, when he was running from Hal last season. Either way. So that's kind of interesting. But Betty's storyline ending the way it did this episode, where it's basically like she goes out there, she sees her mom and Polly kind of doing like a ritual or something, and the babies float, and then she passes out. So it's like, either as I don't think they're going to go down the supernatural route, which we know in the Archie universe that exists. It's interestingly enough, like 2 more weeks, there's the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina on Netflix. So, that's supposed to be taking place in Greendale, which Greendale has popped up in this show. It's just, it's like Greendale's that weird place. I wonder, are they going to keep that? Like, they're 2 separate shows. Like, obviously they occupy the same universe, but they probably won't be a connected universe. It's kind of like, oh, that takes place in its own Greendale while this takes place in its own Riverdale. So there'll probably be like references to the other towns in those worlds. Like, there might be a reference to Riverdale in that. There'll probably be winks and nods, but it probably won't be full on like, oh, these take place exactly the same. Just because, like, I doubt they're going to miss, like, this world, like I said, countless times, Twin Peaks minus the supernatural stuff. I doubt they'd enter the supernatural stuff just to add into Sabrina stuff. Like, I feel like they would have brought that, because I feel like the show's kind of established what it is, and I don't think they plan on shifting over to that, in that avenue, that direction. Maybe not. I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but I'm pretty sure that was all in Betty's head. The question is that just from her, like, not sleeping a lot, all the Adderall she's taking, is it that, or is it an underlying condition? Because she had the seizure and everything at the end, so it might be like a medical condition that she's literally going through. Like, there might have been some underlying issues, which also begs the question too, like, what's going to happen? Like, she talked about not seeing her dad again, but something in this season is going to prompt her to see him, because that darkness in her isn't going to go away. So I think that's probably going to be something she is even more afraid of, because it's like that fear of what he is exists inside of her. She kind of dealt with it last season, but it's like, this town and everything it has a way of drawing it out of people, so we'll ultimately have to wait and see what happens in that regard, especially with everything she's dealing with her mom and Polly in this whole Edgar farm situation. So we'll have to wait and see how that turns out. Then there's that Dilton situation, which he came to Jughead. It's like, oh yeah, the Gargoyle King is real. We thought it was just a game. It's like, wait, what? It makes you wonder, is that something separate? Because it's so interesting, because it's like, I knew there would be kind of like a cult storyline going down, because that's the whole like farm situation. Is that connected to the whole Dilton and Ben situation with the whole Gargoyle King? Because you have that like statue, and it looks like they were part of a ritual. Looks like some stuff was carved into their back. Like, some spooky stuff is going down this season, it seemed like. Because I knew Archie's situation wasn't going to be like the full focus. There's other things happening. So it's like, there's at least 3 storylines going down: the Archie situation, the farm situation / Edgar situation, and whatever this Gargoyle King situation is. Like, because the question is, why did Dilton go to Jughead out of anybody? I'm just curious, why him? Maybe because of the whole serpent thing. He has the backing and stuff like that, and the power and position to help. I don't know. Because Dilton was kind of acting like a weirdo the entire episode. Because even at the party, like, Jughead caught him just kind of staring off in the distance, like, okay, what the hell is that all about? So we'll kind of have to wait and see in that regard. Obviously, going forward, there's a Archie situation of like, oh yeah, he's got like a serpent tattoo, because he's like, oh, like, try to get in with the serpents, they'll look after you. But the thing is, will Archie take that? Like, Archie might still distance himself, because like anything that he goes through, which you caught bits and pieces from the previews, he goes through a pretty rough time. The question then becomes like, well, will he not accept help from anyone, even the serpents, because he wants to handle everything by himself? Like, what about visits from Jug, Veronica, and Betty? Like, what's going to happen in that regard? Because FV gave him the advice of being like, yeah, keeping your body safe is one thing, but also keep your mind sharp, because if you can keep that together, you can survive anything. So we'll ultimately see what happens when Archie's pushed to the test. Kind of goes back to the whole point of, man, Hiram's an asshole. Like, I mean, you're putting a teenager through this? Like, why would you, like, that, you were cutthroat, my friend. You were very cutthroat. But I guess you were like, oh, if you were even more cutthroat, you would have just killed Archie. But that would have just... it wouldn't have been enough to serve a point or an example. So I'm sure he's got people on the inside he's going to have making Archie's situation just a lot worse. Like I said, a lot of stuff went down this episode. I am very interested to see what the next episode has in store for us, continuing all of this. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.